All right, guys, welcome back to Algebra 3. Today our proverb is found in the 8th chapter, 30th verse. Then I, speaking of wisdom, was beside him as a master craftsman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in his inhabited world. I'm just thankful that wisdom is available to each of us through Christ. All right, today is March the 9th, Thursday. We're looking at section 1.7 continued. Specifically, we're looking at absolute value inequalities today. All right, this chart is going to be a lifesaver. It's found at the top of page 135. The absolute value of u, if it is less than a, it will be less than a if and only if. That's the IFF, if and only if. Negative a is less than u, which is less than a. Same thing for equals, less than or equal. But if it is a greater than, okay, it's going to become an or scenario. If the absolute value of u is greater than a, it's only going to happen if and only if these two scenarios play out. U is going to have to be less than negative a, u is going to have to be greater than positive a. If you will follow this chart each time you work through problem, then you should be able to be successful. So I've chosen 4 odd-numbered exercises off of page 137 with absolute value involved. So this reads the absolute value of x is less than 5. X is going to be our u. We're going to look up on our chart. Looks like the first scenario. So I'm going to rewrite it as negative 5 less than x less than 5. And that is the answer. You want x by itself, isolated by itself. You are going to be asked to graph, sketch on a number line, if you will. So I'd find 0, negative 5, positive 5. So this says that x is less than 5, but it is greater than negative 5. So anything in the middle should work. I do want you to check your answers because eventually there's going to be a no solution, one that will not work. So check the value of 0. It falls between the two numbers, or you can check the value of 1. The absolute value of 1 is 1, and 1 is less than 5. So this particular answer that is sketched, as well as in the notation with x, both are correct answers. All right. Number 45. It's the absolute value of a quotient. We're not going to let that bother us. What is going to be different on this one is it is a greater than scenario. You cannot just set it up like this. It's going to have to be two unique inequalities, if you will. So we've got the quotient, x over 2. That is my u. And then it's going to have to be less than a negative a, or the opposite of a. A is 1, the opposite of a is going to be negative 1. Or, then the next one is x over 2 is greater than a, and a is 1. So we've got two different scenarios going. You need to get rid of the 2 here in the denominator, so we're going to multiply by 2. We have x is less than negative 2, or here's the other one. We've got to multiply it by 2. Or x is greater than 2. So either one of these, let's sketch. I've got 0. X is less than negative 2. So here's negative 2. If it is smaller than negative 2, not quite up to negative 2, but anything smaller than. So that's half of it. And we've got, what, a positive 2? And x is bigger than positive 2. Now it's an or scenario. So it's got to fit this or this. So you're going to have to choose a number in both areas. Let's choose negative 3. Let's choose positive 3 and make sure they both work back in the original inequality. Negative 3 over 2 is negative 3 halves. The absolute value of negative 3 halves is positive 3 halves. 3 halves is 1 1/2. 1 1/2 is indeed bigger than 1. So this part works. And if you try the positive 3 halves, same scenario. So it is then x is less than -2 or x is greater than +2. And here's our sketch. Sketch works. All right, I'm going to scoot our camera down, do my third example for you. This is exercise number 47. It is a less than, so we're back to the first scenario. I've got an x minus 5, and got -1. This says a negative a, so this is the negative, and then a. So this is a -1, or a negative a is less than u, which is less than a. So this is -a less than u less than a. So this is the very first scenario. So a -1 is +1, which is less than x minus 5, which is less than -1. Then we're going to add 5 to each scenario. We've got a 6 less than x less than 4. So let's see what it looks like on the number line. Here's 0, here's 4, here's 6. So x has got to be bigger than 6, but x has got to be less than 4. So less than 4, bigger than 6. Let's see which numbers are going to fit. Will a 7 fit? Is 7 minus 5, which is 2, is the absolute value of 2, which is 2, is 2 smaller than -1? I can't get a number down here that's going to work. Let's try down here and let's plug in 1. 1 minus 5 is -4. The absolute value of -4 is +4. Is +4 smaller than -1? No. So although I have worked it correctly, I have graphed it correctly, there are no solutions in this scenario that are going to work. So you're going to have to check each time. You have to check your answers each time and see if the values you think you've selected actually work. All right, catch you in a minute.